All right, checking 1, 2, 3, 4. YouTube Live in Delafield.
Right, I'd like to call this meeting to order, the May 12th, 2025 Board of Review first meeting at 4:00 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'll proceed with roll call. Mayor Eicher,
Present.
Craig Hines,
Present.
Paul Price,
Here.
Janine Sawal, Tom Wolfenbarger,
Here.
Stephen Laughlin.
Here.
as alternate, and then Ken Beckman and Council President Grimmer are excused today. Oh, and Candy Arndt is an alternate, and she will not be in attendance either. Number 4, confirm the mayor as chairperson for the Board of Review per City of Delafield Municipal Code, Section 2-107, Sub A. So I'm looking for confirmation of Mayor Eicher as chairperson.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Item number 5. Hold on here. Confirm the Common Council President as Vice Chair for the Board of Review per City of Delafield Municipal Code, Section 2-107, Sub A. Looking for a motion to confirm Common Council President Grimmer as Vice Chair.
So moved.
Second.
Was that Laughlin on the?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Abstentions? Nays? I forgot that on the last one. Sorry, I don't do this often. I apologize. Okay, and Mayor Eicher, you can take it over from here.
All right, so we need a vice chair since Alderperson Grimmer is not here and he would act as the vice chair. So I'm looking for someone to nominate one of your fellow members to be the vice chair.
The interim vice chair.
Interim
for
vice chair.
Just today's
Interim,
meeting.
yeah, for today's meeting.
I nominate Paul Price.
Second?
Is there any other nominations? Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, Paul, congratulations. Okay, looking for approval of the minutes. I'm sure your memories are clear on this, but from June 10th, 2024, for our last Board of Review meeting.
I motion to approve.
You need your
Microphone.
microphone on, please. There you go.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion or amendments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay. Minutes are approved. So looking for confirmation of the appropriate Board of Review, open book, and open meeting notices for the May 12th, 2025 Board of Review meeting.
Okay, in the packet, you'll see that the appropriate Board of Review, open book, and open meeting notices were published in accordance with state statutes and municipal code.
Who would like to approve that?
It doesn't have
To
to.
confirm, we're just confirming it. Thank you. Okay. Number 9, verify our mandatory training requirements of the Board of Review members.
At least one Board of Review member had completed training as required by statutes. As an additive to that, almost all members have viewed the required training materials for 2025 and submitted training affidavits. We are a well-trained Board of Review this year.
All right. As always, number 10, verify the laws for confidentiality, phone testimony, and written testimony.
Yeah, I'll refer everybody to the e-packet for reference to section 2-107 of the City of Delafield Municipal Code regarding confidentiality, phone testimony, and written testimony, as well as the Wisconsin statutes section, chapter 70.47 sub 8.
Thank you. And then review of any new laws. There are none. I will confirm that, right?
Correct.
Okay, then verbal confirmation of filing and summary assessment of role by the assessor's office. We're looking for Cal to do that, I think. Oh, she's got the,
So this is verbally confirming that you have filed and summary of the assessment roll. So,
We're recording, so if
counting.
you wouldn't mind hitting the bottom bar and turn the green light, there you go, and then saying
The
yes.
roll is there in front of Molly, waiting for my signature.
All right, thank you. All right, so then receipt of the assessment roll by the clerk from the assessor.
okay.
So we gotta sign.
Okay.
I appreciate everyone's patience with the tedium of this, but it is absolutely necessary. All right, thank you. And from there,
The board receives the,
oh, we get to receive it. Here we go. So we have received the roll, and that's 13. Number 14. And so receive the assessment roll and sworn statements from the clerk. That's what we just did. 15, review the assessment roll and perform statutory duties, which include examining the roll, correcting any description or calculation errors, if any, and add omitted property, if any, and eliminate double assessed properties, if any. So we can take a few minutes here and just, we can peruse the book and our notes from information we already have, and just look to confirm that.
so Cal did provide, or did create some lists of all the updates.
There are 3 spreadsheets in the front cover there.
We'd asked for that in the past to kind of go through and verify.
Can you clarify what those summarize, Cal?
Sorry?
Can you clarify what those summarize?
It's a description of the changes we made. in
Cal,
the
can you hit
book,
the,
Okay,
And then why we made the change.
thank you.
So everyone just take a minute or two and just look at the notes Cal provided, and
There's some more.
it's not gonna be the most exciting part of the meeting. So, a good safety checks, make sure your property's in there. Too late to dispute it, but maybe, but, just look for anything whatever, that you might be aware of, or spot check.
It's funny, they're all minuses. Nobody asked the
I know.
No one asked for an increase?
No, nobody asked for an increase, they're all minus.
Refusing or declining a reduction is not unprecedented. It has happened. Someone does not want to have their property perceived as being devalued, just for what it's worth.
Assistant?
Yeah, I do. That's key. It's dirty. I just ask, if you're gonna, gentlemen, I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, if there's any discussion, you need to have your
I was
mic
just
on.
wondering what the term large sale means. Large sale?
Oh, on the one there was a multi.
Turn your mic on too, please.
Okay, thank you.
There are multiple parcels included.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So we need a motion for this, or we just move on if everyone is in agreement? All right, is everyone satisfied in the, I'll just look for an acknowledgement, we're satisfied with the role as presented?
Yes.
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 Okay, okay, item 16, well, that would be discussion action to certify all corrections under error under Wisconsin statutes 70.43. There are none, so there's no action to be taken. Discussion action to verify,
I think
oh, is there?
we'll have to certify.
Oh, we do have to certify, oh, I'm looking for a motion to certify then, the lack of corrections, apparently. So, looking to certify our decision to move the roll along.
I move that we certify and move the roll forward.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions? Okay, roll is certified. Discussion and action to verify with the assessor the open book changes that have been included in the assessment roll. So that's what we look through as well. Motion to accept the changes?
I motion to accept the changes.
Second.
Stephen got it. Okay, any discussion or action, other questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions? Okay. On to item 18, allow taxpayers to examine the assessment data, which, that's been an ongoing process through Open Book. Is there anyone who cares to see what we've been doing up here, that you're here? Okay. So then, during our first 2 hours, which we're 15 minutes into excitingly, we'll do the consideration of 19A, waivers of the required 48-hour notice of intent to file an objection when there is good cause. So, we've got a couple of those.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So this is just somebody in here who hasn't filed notice of intent.
Oh.
Is there anybody that is
I'm
present that
skipping ahead.
did not file notice of intent that would like to request a waiver of the requirement of the 48-hour notice for cause?
Anybody egregiously late? Okay, no, apparently. No one showed up underneath that, short of that 48-hour notice. Request for waiver of the Board of Review hearings at the board's own discretion. This would be a roll call vote for any of those, so that's 19B. And we have one that's on our agenda where someone is not requesting a waiver, but due to historic complexity of the situation and current complexity of the situation, perhaps the property of, let's see, which one is this? Looking to move forward, the possibility that the board would want to waive the 2901 Gulf Road hearing here, and just wave it along, assume that Cal is correct and let them take it up with the court based on the, what is likely to be perhaps arduously long here and redundant to what might happen in court anyway. I don't know if everyone has any questions about what that intent is or what that motion would be, but it would be just to enact our own, at our own discretion, waiving the appeal for property tax key DELC 0807999010, which is for Walgreens on 2901 Gulf Road. Is there any discussion or questions, or would anyone like to make such a motion?
So move.
So move to what? To waive?
So move to waive the hearing for the property at where the address?
Discussing 2901.
2901, yeah.
Okay, is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion,
Can I just ask discussion and to include the reasons why we're moving it forward, which would be complexity and,
Yeah, this is obviously a commercial property with some complexities to it that are probably in the best interest of both the city and the taxpayers to let the circuit court handle it.
Anyone else care to embellish or add to that? I mean, I concur.
I concur.
Agreed.
So, so we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Or abstentions? Okay, so we have waived the Board of Review hearing for DELC 0807-999-010 at 2901 Gulf Road. So if you're here for that,
Can I actually get a roll call vote on this?
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry.
That's all right.
we do need a roll call vote, so please.
All right. Mayor Iker,
Yes?
Craig Hines,
Yes.
Paul Price,
Yes.
Janine Swal,
Yes.
Tom Wolfenberger,
Yes.
Stephen Laughlin.
Yes.
Okay. So 19C. C1, so this is for waiver, actually, to close out B, there's no other waivers that were outstanding that weren't specifically requested by anybody else.
So there are other items that, no, other objections that have been received. If the board would care to discuss any of the other objections, was a list included in the packet. The other objectors have either included or requested to be heard via phone yet, so we're kind of working down the line there as far as that goes, but if you had the desire to discuss additional waivers, that would be at the discretion of the board, I guess. That was a short story long, I apologize.
Yeah, is there any other requests for waivers that weren't discussed already?
Isn't there one in the packet from Walmart?
Walmart specifically requested the waiver, so that would be the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
These would be waivers at the discretion of the board to move forward to circuit court.
Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to item 19C. And CI, which is discussion and action for attorneys Strobin, Carnes, Frank, Haziani, and Bailey on behalf of Walmart Real Estate Business Trust for the Board of Review waiver on 2863 Heritage Drive, identified by tax key DELC 0804-994-021. And this is the objector asking for us to not hear it tonight, but to waive it to court.
You want discussion or a motion? Or neither?
Both. They can take either, they can go in either order.
I think this is very much like the Gulf Road property in that it has complexities and sophistication and is probably better served by letting them have their request granted. Would be my opinion. The request to waive it is what
Okay. Anyone care to make a motion as such?
Okay, I move that we accept the waiver request to allow the property at 2863 Heritage Drive occupied or owned by Walmart to waive hearing before this board and move to the circuit court.
I second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Is this also a roll call vote? Yes, it is. So we'll just affirm what sounded unanimous.
All right, Mayor Iker,
Yes.
Craig Hines,
Yes.
Paul Price,
Yes.
Janine Swal,
Yes.
Tom Wolfenberger,
Yes.
Stephen Laughlin.
Yes.
Okay, no other requests from objectors to waive hearings, so we'll move on to 19D, which is request to testify by telephone or submit a sworn statement, written statement thereof. And let's see, the first one is moot because if the Board of Review waiver was denied, the applicant or the objector wished to speak by phone. And this was waived, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so 19D2, discussion possible action to request to testify by phone Cindy Lyden regarding 1614 West Shore Drive, identified by tax key DELC 0786007, including the consideration of postponement to a later meeting date to allow for the objector to arrange in-person testimony if the waiver is denied. Again, so this is a resident who is, her form is in the packet requesting to testify by phone because she is not in the state. She is out west, and she has a couple different ailments, and if she were to be compelled to come in person, it would be necessary to do that at a future date and at some, whatever, extraneous effort on her part. So
She's seeking just general approval or approval to do that specifically tonight?
she's asking for the ability to testify by phone. It's possible that it could happen tonight, but we can discuss that later as far as whether or not we're going to include that. Oh, no, wait, it's not in here.
No.
Is it? It's not
Yeah.
scheduled for tonight.
So essentially, either way, this will be heard at a different date, whether we opt for phone testimony or in-person testimony to allow for either A, if the board should happen to deny this request, her to make appropriate arrangements to testify in person or have her agent testify, or B, to allow the city to set up the phone testimony at that time. So we did have some additional dates kind of pre-set, just in case we had to roll anything over, so we would be scheduling that for one of those dates. Postponing it, essentially, to that date certain.
I don't know if, I guess I'll just toss this out there. This particular property, residential, is supported by extensive material in here that could result in fairly extensive discussion. As long as Cal feels like we can field that by phone, I'm fine with it. If the lady is having, issues of age and difficulty in traveling, I think we should be sensitive to that.
I agree. Someone would, I don't know, so a motion to approve her waiver request would be appropriate, I think.
Okay. I'll move that we accept the waiver request of Cindy Linden with regard to the property at,
It's a request to testify by phone.
oh, I'm sorry, a request to testify by phone. I was going to say waiver to testify, I misspoke. So I'll start over. I move that we allow Cindy Linden to appear to this board by telephone as opposed to have to appear in person with regard to the property at 1614 West Shore Drive.
I second.
Okay, any discussion other than Steve not knowing her name is Leiden?
Leiden, did I say it wrong? I apologize.
Just- They've been here a long time.
I would like to add an item of discussion, and we can consider this later on in the agenda, but I just want to make sure that we are going to consider this later on in the agenda. So if we approve simply the request to testify by phone, I would just ask that discussion for scheduling be included, I believe, in item 23 tonight, so that we can make sure that we have that scheduled.
So noted. I'll make sure that we bring that up as far as, we will need to schedule her a hearing, so that will be visited later on in the meeting. So any further discussion or questions? All those in favor of granting the applicant the ability to testify by phone, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay,
No roll call required?
Not on this one. Thank you, Will, for checking.
yes. So then, item 19DII, discussion and possible action to consider request to testify by phone, oh, I'm sorry, triple I, it's 19DII, discussion and possible action to consider request to testify by phone of Kevin Hines and W. Chris Beck on behalf of JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. regarding 524 North Genesee Street, identified by tax keys DELC 0798 101, 0798 103, 0798 104, 0798 105, and 0798 106, including the consideration of postponement to a later meeting date to allow for the objector to arrange for in-person testimony. So I know that these are in the packet as well. Let's see here.
JP Morgan starts on page 58 of the packet.
Yes. So you can digest the request and the reasons thereof and decide if there's similar extenuating circumstances or if scheduling at a later date should also accompany some representative here in person.
So for this one, the request to testify by phone is simply that the agent and appraiser are both located out of state. That is the reason given.
Historically, we've been kind of stubborn to allow people to testify by phone if they seem perfectly capable to be here, especially if we're giving them time and scheduling a date in the future.
I appreciate you volunteering that, because that was my first question. And when I look at this, I guess my sense of it is this is a very material adjustment they're looking for. Very big dollars and very sophisticated package attached to it with experts who are available from out of state. They probably could come. So I think that we should continue to be stubborn about that. That's my own opinion. Is there any other discussion about it? Does somebody feel differently?
I do not.
Do you want a motion? Or do you want
I
discussion?
would like a, well, discussion follows a motion. It can always fail.
Okay, then no one else is doing it. So I'll so move then that we compel,
Deny the,
we're going to deny the waiver request?
The request to testify by phone.
Request to testify by phone, thanks. Too many things moving. I'll start over. I hereby move that we deny the request to testify by phone by JP Morgan Chase and or their representatives.
that's for item 19D3.
For item, whatever number you just said,
Yeah,
which I don't have.
19D3.
For the address is 3201 Village Square Drive.
I'll second that.
Nope, I'm sorry. Nope, you skipped ahead.
This is 521 North Genesee Street.
Oh, okay, we're gonna do this a bunch of times for them. Okay, 521 North Genesee Street.
Was there a second still stands?
Second, yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Just the,
Other than saying that an agent should be perfectly capable, given time, to be present and help us walk through and clarify the complexity of what they're asking for and why it's so substantive.
and then just the addition to make sure to schedule this out.
And yes, again, we will bring this up within 2 hours, I guarantee it. Is that all agreeable? Okay, all those in favor of denying the request to testify by phone for item 19D3, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay, that waiver has been, or that request has been denied. Similar situation with item 19D4, which is discussion and possible action to consider the request to testify by phone of Kevin Hines and W. Chris Beck on behalf of JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A., regarding 3201 Village Square Drive, identified by tax key DELC 0733998006, including consideration of postponement to a later meeting date to allow for the objector to arrange for in-person testimony.
I think it's similar to the other one, and if we don't allow that, we shouldn't allow this either.
I concur. Let's formalize that. That would be a motion to deny. Is that right?
Motion to deny the discussion of request to testify by phone for the property at 3201 Village Square Drive. I think we should deny.
And consider their meeting at a later date.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Then E, subpoena requests. That would be if the board would care to demand someone show up in support of any of the objections we have here that isn't already likely to show up. Is that correct, Molly?
I think so.
All right. Is there anybody that you can think of that we need to have a subpoena to come and support their case that we don't think they're already going to bring? Okay. We'll go on to item 19F, act on other legally allowed or required board of review matters. I'm not sure how much latitude we have there. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't think there's anything that comes to mind, Molly?
Nothing comes.
Okay, we'll go on to item 20. Review of notices to file objection. So there's a notice of intent filed by Christine Harder regarding 120 Hickory Court, identified by tax key DELC 0791.082.
Yeah, so just a quick summary. So, the folks are required to file a notice of intent. And then if it sort of extends their deadline until the date of the first meeting to allow them to file that objection. So at this time, I have not received a formal objection filed by Christine Harder.
And she's got till the end of this meeting to do so, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there's no action to be taken on this at this time unless we see something,
I
correct?
don't think there would be action either way, more of just a notice of who we would be looking for to file that objection yet today.
Okay. All right, so then item 20B, notice of intent filed by Darlene Osgood regarding 20 Crossroads Court, identified by tax key DELC 0803-006.
So I did receive an objection filed today from this property owner. Given the timing of the filing, I believe we would have to schedule this for a later date and during item 23.
Okay,
So can you just confirm everything's in the form it needs to be for that, Molly?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you confirm all the things you received are in proper form?
within the proper form and format? Do we have a
Yes, I-
complete application?
I received,
They're all compliant?
yep, a complete application
Okay.
for this person.
All right, so no action to be taken there. We'll schedule that again on item 23. 21, proceed to hear objections, if any, and proper notice, and if proper notice waivers were given, unless scheduled for another date. And all these require a roll call vote because these would be individual hearings and judgments where we have people here. Let's see, okay, procedure objections. Item 21A. Okay, we need to go right into that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Open the border review hearing for 3501 Trinity Lane, identified by tax key DELC 0621.016. Is the applicant here, objector here, is they appear to have a presence.
We've got report copies here for you all. You like them, or?
The appraisal?
Yes, yeah, well, you can hand those out, as we'll go through some other fun stuff, or we can just grab and pass them down too.
The whole box?
They're big, thick books, Tim, let him,
Oh,
I think
okay.
he wants to deliver.
Let him do it? Okay, go ahead. So from here, I will need to make sure that we are recording. I believe we are. I think we did that early.
Yep, we're still recording, correct, Mike?
Okay, a thumbs up. And I'll let Molly introduce the case for this hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the case of 3501 Trinity Trust, care of Gerald Snyder, agent Jorge Barrero? Okay. The owner objector resides at 3501 Trinity Lane, Neshota, Wisconsin, 53058. The address for the property in question is 3501 Trinity Lane, Neshota, Wisconsin, 53058. The tax key for this property is DELC 0621016. The property has been classified for assessment purposes as 1 residential. The value in the assessment roll for the current year is land $2,112,400. Improvements $3,050,500 for a total assessment value of $162,900.
Okay, please swear in all the witnesses, and I think that includes our assessor.
Sure thing. Is everybody good if I swear everybody in kind of at once, please? To save on time, is that okay?
I'm good.
All right, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony which you shall give and the matter now on hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Excellent.
Okay.
So then we're going to go through and have everybody who has just sworn in, please state your name and address for the record, starting with the property owner and property owner objector.
Yeah, but you need to press the bottom bar, please.
Perfect.
Does that
Is
work?
it Jorge?
Okay.
Yeah, you as well. Yeah, but you need to say your name and address as well, just for the record. There you go.
One at a time. Property owner first.
Property owner is the 3501 Trinity Trust. I'm Michael May. I'm the trustee of the trust. And the address is 3501 Trinity Lane in Neshota.
Okay, and Jorge as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, name is Jorge Barrero. You want my address?
Yes, again.
It can be your business address.
Business address is 2312 Grandview Boulevard in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I'm the real estate appraiser.
Okay,
Cal Magnan, W360 South 10094, Markham Road in Eagle, Wisconsin.
okay. Thank you. So from here, this will be a little mundane, but I'll let you just know how this is going to go, even though many of you may know it. The person filing the objection will testify and present evidence first. Then the assessor may then ask the property owner objector questions, after which the Board of Review members may ask any additional questions they have. And then after that, any other witnesses present in support of the property owner objector will testify. Each witness will be subject to questions from the assessor and the Board of Review members. After all the witnesses for the property owner objector have testified, the assessor will present his case in support of the assessment. The property owner objector may then ask the assessor questions, which would be you asking him, followed by Board of Review members. After the assessor testifies, any other witnesses presented in support of the assessor will testify. I see none, but each witness will then be subject to questions from the property owner and the Board of Review members. The property owner objector may then respond to the assessor's testimony by presenting any other evidence to rebut that, followed by additional questioning from the assessor and Board of Review members. Then the assessor may then present any other evidence in support of the assessment, and again, subject to questioning from the property owner objector of the Board of Review members. So then after all that evidence has been submitted under oath, the property owner objector may make a brief summary of his or her case to the Board of Review. Then the assessor can follow with a brief summary of his or her case. After each summary that has been presented, the taking of testimony will be closed, and the Board of Review then will deliberate the testimony in an open session, either immediately, which I expect, or at a later date to be announced. And we just it's necessary for you to understand that under state law, the Board of Review is required to uphold the assessor's valuation of your property being correct unless your testimony can show the assessor's valuation to be incorrect. In other words, the burden of proof is all on you, the taxpayer. Does that make sense? Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. All right. With that, I would like you as the property owner to begin your testimony, and again, state your full name and address.
Sure.
A little redundant, yes.
I just want to interject if I could.
Yes, sir.
I first saw that appraisal late last week. If that appraisal had been provided to me in a timely fashion, I, as the assessor, would have changed the assessed value to match the appraisal. I'm familiar with the appraiser's work. He does fantastic work, top-notch work. Again, because of the time that I actually first saw the appraisal, again, I couldn't change it at that time. That's why they're here at Board of Review. But I don't want to waste a lot of your time and their time, because I know after reviewing the appraisal, and again, being with Mr. Jorge, that the number's a good number. So I just want to throw that to the board right away, so.
So your recommendation would be that we accept the
Actually,
number?
hey, okay, so I understand what you're saying, Cal, but you're still compelled to be here, and we need to go through the
absolutely.
process.
Absolutely.
And if you're saying you might have a weak case, that's for us to decide?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. So with that,
Fair
and
enough. I just wanted to be upfront with the
understanding, you can judge for yourself then how this is gonna go as far as what you wanna present, but you still need to put your best foot forward in case we feel otherwise. So I don't, again, if that means a 45-minute presentation would be 15 instead, or 5, that's fine. But again, this is your first step to make your case, and if we can the board's gonna have to decide based on what we're given, not based on, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? It seems a little odd, that's just the legalese of it. So again, so yes, so did we get past the name and address? And then, so name and address, and then state what you believe that the real value is of your property.
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Michael May, the trustee of the 3501 Trinity Trust. We're claiming the value is worth $4.5 million, as opposed to what the recent assessment value states. As trustee of the trust, when we got the notice, I thought it would be prudent to bring in a professional valuation firm, which is why Mr. Barriero is here. And without any preconceived notions, really, we just thought it would be prudent to double check and see, what our process would have turned up, and it was a different number, quite a bit different. We weren't able to, unfortunately, just due to the length of time it took to generate the report, get everything in front of the assessor in time. So that's why we're here today. And in terms of, the rationale for why we're arguing for a lower number, I guess I'd like Mr. Barriero to take the lead on that explanation.
Yeah, well, obviously, my job as an appraiser is to remain completely objective.
I'm sorry
Get a little bit closer.
I'm sorry if our microphones are.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Tough, but-
I'll get a little bit closer, it's my fault.
Okay.
My job as an appraiser is to remain completely objective, which is exactly what I did. Just to give you a little background on who I am as an appraiser and my quality that I strive to achieve in reports and being objective. But I've been appraising for 20 years. I have both designations from the Appraisal Institute. I'm a recent chapter president of the Appraisal Institute, currently involved with the regional board and then the national board as well. There's some chairs open, which I've applied for. So when getting this assignment, first off, I had to confirm the property, which immediately I'll pull all the assessor records. So I got those records. Any prior sales history to see if there's any data in MLS. There's none on this property. The land was purchased by the current owner. The house was built by the current owner. So I went and I looked at it. I had the assessor records as far as its measurements, its living area. And I also completed with technology now. It's pretty amazing what you can do with technology. So it's to our advantage to use it. And I used there's an app on the phone. In this particular app, there's a few. This one's called Kubicasa. So I measured the property, and it was pretty close to the assessor. So I had two sources to verify living area, which is one of the primary contributors to value for a property. So walked through, looked at the quality, condition, and it's a pretty recently built house. It was built this century. Since the turn of the century, in the 2000s. So. Like 11 years ago, I think it was. There's a lot of data in this report, so I completely understand what Cal is saying because you could sit and review this for several hours. If I were to review a report like this, it would take me quite some time. But nonetheless, all the data that I used to come to a final conclusion is in here. So I started with properties that are on lakefront, throughout the Lake Country market area. There's several lakes in the market, all have differences in appeal. There are a few that are the most superior lakes in Lake Country. Oconomowoc Lake, Pine Lake, Beaver Lake, to name a few. This particular property is not on one of those lakes. So it would fall what I would consider in the middle of the range of appeal for lakes in Lake Country. So when I started, I just looked throughout Lake Country and more recently built properties, and frontage amount is another primary contributor to value. So, and I'll go through this real quick. I just want to make sure you guys have a comfortable understanding of how I fell to that number. And it's not a number I picked, it's what market data indicated, and I agreed with it. So there's one page on here, and I apologize, they're not numbered in here, so I'll just briefly go off of it. I did a search of all the one-story sales, which the subject property or the property that's being appraised is. It's a one-story home that were built this century, since the year 2000, and I went back 2 years to find them. So that revealed 10 sales. The lowest sale price range was $750,000. It was there, it's part of the data. Of course, I didn't use it. I'm being objective in it. It was not my goal to get the final value indication as low as possible. Then up from there, it jumps to a little over $1 million. The highest one was $7,750,000. The second highest one was $3 million, both of which I used as comparable sales. I used none of the other ones. So from there, I just looked for other properties that were in the Lake Country market area that weren't built this century, that weren't one-story designs, but they had lake frontage. So I selected another 5 sales, and then I adjusted accordingly. So if you look at the comparable sales grid, this is closer, this is more towards the front. It's probably maybe 4 or 5 pages in. You'll see it's labeled, you'll see the comparable sales comparison, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I adjusted accordingly. I did time adjustments. All the data is in this report. How I came to the amount that needed to be adjusted for based on when they sold, because market values, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with what values have been doing in the last couple of years. So that was an important element, was to make a market-supported time adjustment. And all these, yeah, they're in the Lake Country market, but they're in their own sub-market, let's say. And then another element was the difference in appeals to lake. So you can kind of see, and this will speak hand in hand into being objective. So Negawicka Lake, like comparison 4, I increased that sale price, that adjusted sale price, by $720,000. That was a percentage adjustment that it shows right there. It's 24% inferior in appeal to the subject property's lake. So I adjusted it accordingly. And that went through the whole sales grid, which is the one approach to value that I developed, which is typical for single-family properties. So it was the sales comparison approach. Lakefront properties don't typically rent, so I didn't do the income approach. It was the sales comparison approach and that I utilized. And I did actually do the cost approach as well, just to get a second indication of value, which supported the sales comparison approach. So I utilized those 2 approaches to value. And then ultimately, I fell, after making all the adjustments, to the $4.5 million, which, like I said to begin with, the assessed value shows an increase, and I think it's justified that it should increase, but not to that extent. And then the market value, the market data that I presented, that I utilized in this report, strongly supports that, yes, it increased, but not to that extent. And, you know, I think that's a good summary without taking too much of anyone's time. If you have any questions about what I just stated, I'd be happy to answer and kind of direct where in this appraisal report that you could find some of the data that I just briefly touched on.
I have 2 questions for you.
Well, hang on first, it's, I believe,
Not my turn?
no, it's not.
Okay, I'll shut up then.
Let's see. I typically, Cal, you'd be asked to go first, if that's all right. I mean, I don't know if you have any questions based on what he said.
I don't have any
Okay.
questions. Like I said, I reviewed the appraisal and for
Okay.
the time frame of it.
Okay,
You
all
don't
right,
need to
so
make a change.
that's all open up, since you've wrapped up your initial statement? Okay, so I'll open up to any at-large questions from the Board of Review members.
I have 2 questions for you, Jorge. Did I say that right, Jorge?
You got it, yeah.
Okay, sorry. The first one is, what is your relationship with the property owner? Do you have any personal relationship or independence issues of any kind?
No, the first time I met him and even learned his name is when I accepted this assignment for the attorney.
Okay, and can you tell me where in the book the cost approach is?
The cost of, whether what?
The cost approach valuation part?
Yeah, let me take a peek, and just to be sure, I may have misspoke about developing the cost approach, but let me go back in, and, because it'll be, say right on the front. Yeah, I did misspeak, that there was the sales comparison approach right on the second page, is the most relevant analysis in this assignment, and I have determined there's sufficient information to develop a credible opinion of value by developing solely this approach. And one of the primary reasons for coming to that determination was the quality of the subject property. And it exceeds what the traditional residential cost handbooks will show you. It could be interviewed, some builders could, but it got to be a little bit too subjective and reliant upon interviews. So that's why I ultimately determined that I'm just gonna rely on the sales comparison approach because it's factual data from market sales. So yeah. So if you wanna see the actual area where the cost approach is, it won't be populated in here, because it's noted right in the report that I didn't utilize it, but if you wanted to just see.
It's okay, if you didn't fill it out, it's fine.
Okay, all right. Second question?
Those were the two, whether you're independent or not, and
Okay,
I wanted to know what the cost approach shows.
okay.
If you had done.
You may have stated it, but the primary purpose of the appraisal was to dispute the value of the house and just create a fair market value, in your opinion, or was it for any banks or any other purposes?
That was the purpose of the appraisal report. When I accepted the assignment, sorry if I turn, you can't hear me. When I accepted the assignment, the purpose was for the tax value, yeah. And I had to develop a fair market value indication. So that was the purpose, exactly what you just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said it, but I missed it. Which comparisons did you use? You said you picked two that were primarily used for your.
That were on that initial list that I discussed?
Yeah. In which two
yeah.
you've got, so in the front, you've got comparisons up to 7.
Yeah, I utilized a total of 7, so.
So you mentioned 2 you threw out, not.
Well, I only used 2 from that list I initially talked about,
Okay.
which was all one-story sales in Lake Country that were built since the year 2000.
Okay.
Let me direct you to that sheet there so you can see it now. You'll see. All right, yeah, it's about, you'll see as you're flipping through, you'll see the comparable sales. This is their MLS sheets, just to kind of verify what I listed in my sales grid. So you'll see 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you'll get to the list that I just described, and it's about a little more than halfway through, where you'll see on the top of it, it's labeled Lake Country, 1-story, built 2000 plus, 2 years. So I went 2 years back, and you'll see 10 sales of properties that fit that description. And it's right after comparable sales 7. Again, I apologize that the page numbers didn't hit on this one.
And so, so a different question I have is, where did the rating of lakes, how did you arrive at that? Because you've got some sort of scale where you're going plus or minus percentages. I've not seen that before, but.
Yeah, it's a quantitative analysis that's done based on the quality of the lakes, and it's based on sales. So I went back, again, with Lake Country, with lake frontage properties, they don't have an extensive amount of sales. Now, if you were just looking at any of these municipalities, well, I'm gonna say this particular area that's off lake, it'll give you enough data to have a reliable inference when you're doing a statistical analysis. Now, in order to get that with lake sales, I'd have to go back 5 years, possibly even 10 years, and this would all be in the report. So I'd look at the range, the median, and the mean, and I'd compare it to the subject lake. And based on that, okay, well, this is the percentage adjustment that I'm gonna apply for. So when I say it's market supported, that's how that particular adjustment is supported by market data, by doing a statistical analysis in that way.
Okay. So that's how you're arriving at these percentage adjustments for what you're determining is lake quality,
Appeal, yeah.
lake appeal.
Yeah, the lake appeal or quality, yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions for the objector?
Just one comment. if I
Yes.
may. We hired Mr. Barriero after his research was done. We didn't call him with necessarily the plan to object. So if that's, I think, what that.
So his motivation to create these scales wasn't based on you?
We didn't have an axe to grind.
Okay.
We said, we don't really know. There are a lot of variables involved here.
Okay.
So
All right, we'll get back to asking you a chance to speak again at the end to summarize. So, is there any more questions for the objector? Okay, well, Cal, whatever comments you would like to make is fine.
We generate in doing our assessment, which is mass appraisal. The idea is that we do the same type of thing, but how do we get there? In our mass appraisal, we generate a market-based cost approach. I could have asked how much time you had spent on that appraisal. I'm sure it's a heck of a lot more time than we're allowed in mass appraisal to generate a value. Again, had that been presented to me prior to the end of the open book time period, I would have made the adjustment in the assessed value to that number. It came in, I think it was last Friday, is when we first came in, Wednesday or Friday last week, so. And on the same token, we're at the appraisal's at 4.5, we're at 5.1, though we're not too far apart. But again, their number is a lower number, and again, I would have changed it to that number at open book, had that been in my hands at the time, so.
Okay, any questions for Cal?
I have one, Cal, just to clarify. So the reason why there are differences, if I understand right, is just because of the complexity that he was able to apply to the thought because he has a lot more time to think about it, right?
Absolutely.
So you can get a much tighter microscope and look a lot closer and look inside. You didn't really
have
necessarily do that.
A better valuation there because of the time that was spent to generate that value.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions for Cal, for the assessor?
I do not know.
Okay, all right, I'm compelled to go through the steps.
Okay.
So with that, would you like to just make a closing statement? You started to, or maybe you already have. But.
Well, I would appreciate the chance to be here today. We, again, would have called the assessor had we had the opportunity. And it takes a while to generate a report like this, and we appreciate the effort that was made, appreciate your hearing us out. And I really don't have much to add to what's already been said.
Okay, any questions based on that? No? All right, Cal, again, you can say you're done if you want.
Again, had we had that
Okay.
in our hands at an earlier point, we probably wouldn't be here right now, so.
All right, well, then hearing no more, any questions? Again, any other questions? Okay, with that, I will, hang on, I gotta be careful. I am closing the testimony in this
Nope.
case. I'm sorry, what? Oh, what?
Deliberations, and then closing at the end. So.
Oh, I'm
do
sorry.
The findings of fact first.
I'm closing the testimony.
Oh, okay.
See, Molly's seldom wrong. All right, so if not, I'm now closing the testimony in this case, and I'll open up deliberations by asking the Board of Review members to state, based on the sworn testimony presented, whether you think the assessor's valuation of the property is correct or incorrect. So again, your time for the people in front of us is closed to speak, so it's up to us to come up with a determination, and there's a determination sheet that you have that helps walk through that. Molly's got one for this property.
So on the first flip over page, you'll see in the property identification, findings of fact for this specific property, the information that we would start with in this determination process. So it starts with. Yes, it's right here.
Gotcha.
Yep, there we go. So you'll just gonna wanna walk through.
All right, so, I mean, we,
I'm gonna walk through section 8, walk through every section on this list here, is kinda what they're. Did you want me to? Let's see, all right, section A, so the property identification and findings of fact, again, this is for assessment year 2025, tax key number DELC 0621016, property owner 3501 Trinity Trust, care of Gerald Snyder, property address 3501 Trinity Lane, Neshota, Wisconsin 53058. I did not find a mailing address of record in the county records. The January 1, 2025 assessed value is $2,112,400. Improvement value, $3,050,500 for a total assessed value of $5,162,900. The hearing date is today, May 12th, 2025, and we open the hearing at 4:35 p.m. I did receive, I did email the confirmation of hearing. So my assumption was that it was received because you folks are here today. There is no need to waive the 48-hour notice of hearing because that was already done. So that's a non-applicable. I just have to check my records here. I don't believe that we received a notice of intent because we received the objection form in lieu of that. I just have to check to verify, if you could bear with me for a moment. So either way, it would be the first one. An objection was filed, so timely notice. Board members present, Mayor Iker, Craig Hines, Paul Price, Janine Swall, Tom Wolfenberger, Stephen Laughlin. No board members were removed, and I have confirmation from all board members except for Candy Arndt of completing training. The City of Delafield Board of Review Council is not present today. The property owner, objectors, attorney, or representatives. So we have Mike May and Jorge Barrero. Sorry, I'm trying to. Addresses stated previous for the record. All right, and then into section B, where the board should discuss the testimony. The individuals who were sworn as witnesses include, again, Mike May, Jose Barrero, and Cal Magnan. So then leading into number 1, sworn testimony by the property owner, objector, May and Barrow. Included a recent sale of the subject property, yes or no?
no,
No.
none such exist.
Okay. Recent sales of comparable properties.
I don't have a count to actually tell you exactly which ones are exactly comparable, but there's dozens.
I think 7 were presented.
Yes, there's,
So yes,
7.
7. And then I know we've had some difficulty finding addresses, but the record does request the addresses of other properties. So Jorge, are you able to read off those addresses for myself and for the record, please?
Yes, happy to do so. And these will be the 7 comparable sales utilized in the sales comparison approach.
Actually, yeah,
So the first one, comparable sale 1 is 1548 North Dousman Road, Summit, Wisconsin. Is that sufficient, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so comparable sale 2 is 3701 Trinity Lane, in Neshota, Wisconsin. Comparable sale 3.
A little bit slower for me if you don't mind, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
my apologies. Should I take a pause, or
I'm
you
ready for 3.
ready for 3? Okay. It's N26 W30123 Maple Avenue,
Maple Avenue,
correct.
okay?
And that's in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. Comparable sale number 4. That is 820 Back Bay, 2 words, Road. That is in Delafield, Wisconsin, with a zip of 53018. Comparable sale 5, 2313 North Mill Road, and that is in Oconomowoc, with the zip code of 53066. Comparable sale number 6 is 3934 North Hickory Lane. That's in Oconomowoc, with the zip code of 53066. And then the last one utilized is comparable sale 7. That is 4353 North Sawyer Road, Oconomowoc, with the zip code of 53066.
Thank you.
all right. So from there, there's some, frankly, my notes just simply say the summary of the testimony by other witnesses and the objector combined was a litany of comparables and detailed adjustments. I mean, that's how I'm describing it. Does anyone else have anything to add about the objector's testimony and his witness, other than to say that seems to be a large number of comparables that were dissected and presented as reasons for his objection? Is that a good way of, are we in agreement that that's the summary?
My summary would be to say that the professionalism and extent of detail provided is clearly sufficient to compel even our own assessor to recognize the number, and that weighs heavily on my mind, but so does the quality of the work that I see here, since I'm somewhat familiar with the process.
All right, and then the testimony by the assessor is the next piece that we just need to reason through, and that is that there was not a significant resistance or objection or presentation of facts that would rebut what the objector has been presenting to us or presented to us. Is that a fair way to say that? Okay. So then section C on our sheets here is a determination.
Can we just kind of go through like the check boxes here for item 3? Sworn
We need
testimony
more.
by the assessor. So the estimated level of assessment for the current year. Cal?
Actually, they're done testifying. I mean, so that's, I mean, this is all stuff we can extract from the form, correct? Or we need to hand it
This
out
is,
at the end?
this is supposed to be.
Okay.
Yep,
I'm sorry.
Has to be part of the record today.
yes. So the estimated level of assessment for the current year. Okay. So,
It was not a recent sale.
recent sales of comparable properties,
Were not presented.
okay.
Other factors, there was none.
Okay,
And sworn testimony was presented by Cal, and there was no other witnesses. Determinations. So, in section C, I'm sorry, should have familiarized myself with this format here, but, so the assessor's estimate of the level assessment of the municipality has been determined to be, and this is 100%. Is this, I mean, it's what we're determining, so. And that there was not a recent sale, so we don't have, item 2 is not, applicable. Item 3, there's recent sales of comparable properties, is that a yes? I mean, I think we've been presented with, I think we've got 7 that were highlighted. And is it to our satisfaction that that they're in the market area, the property owner? I believe that's a yes. Anyone else can speak up? Then similar attributes, like properties, curb appeal as presented, I say yes.
Yes.
And then assessor did not present testimony of recent sales or similar attributes. So are we comfortable with the conclusion that the properties, is there any favorites, or are all 7 feel like they were weighted properly as far as the comparable properties that were presented? Feel that they were analyzed?
I think lake properties are completely unique, and I do think you did a very thorough job of balancing, and the desirability of lakes is a real thing too, and I think he took that into account, which I think was super important in doing his research.
So as far as conclusion, you're satisfied that the comparables presented were fair and appropriate to use to determine the value?
I do.
Okay. So we'll include all 7 of those there, Molly?
alrighty.
And that item 3E. So, is there any reason we should base our determination on any other factors other than what was being presented? We're not supposed to, but I mean, if there's something that, okay, we'll go no. Actually, it's not about what was presented, it was, okay. So our decision, we've got 2 ways to go here. Sustain the assessor's valuation, or determine that the assessor's value is incorrect. And there's so we're in section D, that's 1 or 2. So a 1 would say that Cal's 100% correct, and 2 is saying that the objector is 100% correct. So are we on the same page here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Where are you?
So it's on page, I don't know what we got here. So we got the form, it's the second last page of the packet. The top left, someone needs to move that, if that's the way we want to go, if we think the objector is correct, we need to state the reasons why and move that way. Otherwise, we'd state that Cal is correct and make the reasons why.
So I move to say that the assessor's valuation is incorrect, that the property owner has presented sufficient evidence to rebut the presumption of correctness granted by law to the assessor.
Okay, so
So
the
I think-
motion should be the first statement on the top.
Okay, so I
And then
move
state the
to
reasons.
exercise its judgment and discretion pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 70.479A. The Board of Review by majority and roll call vote hereby determines that the assessor's valuation is incorrect, that the property owner has presented sufficient evidence to rebut the presumption of correctness granted by law to the assessor, and that the owner's value, the property owner's valuation is reasonable, like the relevant evidence. And that, do we have the land value on here?
Yeah.
That the full value of the property is
4.5.
4.5
We need-
total.
We need a
Right,
land and
please.
improvements.
Yeah, do you have that on
Hold
here?
on, I
What
think we
page?
start in there, we start with what it is stated as, at the full value and at the level of assessment, and hereby sets the new assessment at, I believe, is how that would read out.
No, we're stating the value and then the percentage.
Full value of the
And so since it's
property
100, these numbers are all
is-
gonna be the same. Right? So we're saying that we have to, filling this out on this page would mean that we're gonna agree with the complainant and that we need to state their values here and then determine what the assessment of the municipality is at and then do the math.
So we would skip that one, that box would not be checked.
No, we do them
So we
both.
jump
We
to
say
the-
100% and do the same number. So if you're saying the objector is correct, we need to fill out these values for the land and improvements. And I am looking for them. That's,
What page do you have that on?
I didn't develop the cost approach, so I don't have a land value in there, but had I done it, I would have utilized the allocation method, which is basically a percentage of the total value, because it's gonna be difficult to find comparable sales to determine a site value indication, so I think it would be entirely reasonable to go off of a percentage, and maybe Cal would probably agree with me as well, I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, but, would just utilize that allocation method and say, okay, well, what percentage of the tax assessment is contributed to land value, of the total value, and determine what the land value is based that way.
all right, this is good. So I would make a recommendation that based on, we're allowed to do some math here. It's not determining value, but it's determining, how do we arrive at
4.5.
$4.5 million using the same percentages that had him initially slated at 5.1629? Someone want to help me with that
I was gonna
math?
say it's close to 87% of the value of the original.
Okay,
Molly,
Let's
correct me if
do that.
my recollection is incorrect, but I believe that we're supposed to receive those numbers from them for the allocation, aren't we? For it to be accepted by us?
They're actually required to just give their, objection. And it is not, it's total assessed value. It's not broken down in their objection form.
Could we not use the same percentage
Yes.
that Cal used?
yeah, someone want to do that math?
41%.
So the land is 41%?
Where's mine?
We're trying to find, there's so many
I'm asking
papers
the
here.
board to do it. We should not be taking input from the,
My apologies.
it's okay.
All right. So.
All right. I'm just going to verify some of my own.
based on a 41% for land, I come at 1.845, or 1,845,000, and improvements at 2,655,000.
You get that?
I did
She's
not.
making the motion. Okay, say that again.
Based on a 41% land valuation of the total price, I have the land valued at 1,845,000, and the improvements at 2,655,000 for a total value of $4.5 million.
Okay, and that, since the municipality's assessment is at 100%, those translate into the new assessment at those same values. Okay?
Agreed.
So, again, that's your motion,
That's my motion.
that is the new, that is, that
new
the
assessment should
applicant is
be-
correct.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone, is there a second for that?
Second.
It's Paul. Okay, roll call vote. Molly?
Mayor Iker,
Aye.
Craig Hines,
Aye.
Paul Price,
Aye.
Janine Swall,
Aye.
Tom Wolfenberger,
Aye.
Stephen Laughlin.
Aye.
Okay, so then you get to, Molly will be certifying that. And that will end this case. The case is closed, so go on to our next agenda item. You can grab the determination form from Molly as soon as she's done getting it written up. Thank you for your patience.
It's gonna be just a few moments. Thank you.
Bedrooms are amazing. I spent bedroom, bedroom. Bathrooms are closets. The house is basically a two-bedroom.
It looks beautiful.
All right,
I'm still working on
you
the
still working? All right.
determination.
No.
We good?
Are we still being recorded?
Yes. Yeah, we're being recorded.
You guys, we're on camera. Just so you know.
It's an open meeting. We have 32 minutes left, unless we want to take longer. I mean, tonight. Tonight, I mean.
Turn the audience away.
Yeah. So for those riveted that might be watching this, we will be taking up item 21. Wait, what's next? 21B, shortly.
I was going to use the agents. Did you have a different one you would prefer? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Waiting for our assessor. I don't think so. We just need to know the date before we close for our next meeting.
Oh, I mean, when we close the hearing on this one item.
We just did, didn't we?
I don't remember.
I said it was closed. I said it was closed.
Okay, sorry. That's what I'm asking. I apologize. I wasn't clear. I don't remember what time that, I didn't catch that.
It was exactly 5:25.
No, we have to discuss that yet.
Next one, this is the email that I have, that you can read into the
Is it
record.
11?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
email that I
Yep,
provided.
yep,
you
yep, yep.
To read into the record. Sorry, there's so much paper.
So do we think, no, I know, so do we think we need to, we don't even open a hearing? We can't, they're not here. They didn't ask for one, they said cancel it.
Yeah, so just read the.
Yeah, okay. Okay, ready to roll, or continue rolling? All right, we're taking up item 21B, which is for 11 Crossroads Court, identified by tax key number DELC 08031, I'm sorry, it's DELC 0803011. And instead of opening a hearing on this, I'm going to honor the request of the objector who on, what date is this? Saturday, May 10th, 2025 at 2:16:07 PM. Sent a note to the city clerk, Molly Schneider, that says, "Hello, Molly. I'm just informing you that we withdraw our request for the Board of Review hearing for 11 Crossroads Court. Thank you. Aaron Jurich, Trout Properties, Inc., P.O. Box 395, Pewaukee, Wisconsin, 53072. And Assessment Reduction Services, LLC, P.O. Box 395, Pewaukee, Wisconsin, 53072. So based on their request to not have the hearing, we're not going to have a hearing. So then 21C, opening up the Board of Review hearing for 2901 Gulf Road.
This one was waived.
And this one was waived. We're making great progress. So this was waived they asked for a waiver in their, we asked for a waiver to move this. This is Walgreens, so we will not be hearing that tonight. Item 22, provide notice of Board of Review determination form to objectors who are present and/or direct clerk to provide notices via certified mail. And you just did that, correct? Okay. 23, discussion and possible action on scheduling additional Board of Review dates if necessary for additional hearings. And this is where we have a few. Can you walk me through them? Help me, Molly. Which ones they are? I know we have,
So we have the three that requested to testify via phone or need to appear, were either approved or denied and we need to arrange for the phone call or they need to arrange to appear in person. And then 20 Crossroads Court was the one that I received an objection form for today, so they did not,
so we just need to schedule all 4
4
of
of
these.
them, yes.
Okay, so
So-
let's determine a date that we can do that. If you want to take
Yeah.
a poll of our members here?
So when I initially sent out the kind of availability request, I did include some additional dates. The 27th and the 29th were both in that list. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the same amount available. Stephen, you said you were available for both the 27th and the 29th, correct, as an alternate?
Yes, that's correct.
The 20, Cal, you also were available for both the 27th and the 29th, okay. The 27th is immediately following Memorial Day weekend, and I am going to be on vacation the week prior. Given that we're not waiting on any paperwork or anything like that, I would be able to get an agenda out before I left, to have that information and send notices out before I left. That being said, I'm not sure if that's convenient for everybody else, and if you would prefer to do the 29th, or we can open up the availability calendar for the Common Council and talk through some other possible dates that, or not the council, the chambers, the Common Council chambers, and talk through some other possible dates if none of those work for everybody any longer. So,
What do you prefer, Molly? Since 27th and 29th are good? Sounds like the 29th.
the 27th gives me a little bit of a panic because I don't have, I'm very busy trying to juggle a bunch of stuff right now before I go on vacation, and having to figure out how to get that phone conference thing working gives me a little bit of a panic trying to fit that in and another agenda before I leave. I also have to I just have a lot on my plate before I leave. It might be easier to postpone it or to, work on scheduling the 29th.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Can you turn on your microphone?
Yeah, turn on your mic.
29th would be better.
If possible.
We could also, like I said, we could potentially look at some additional dates farther out into
Tim?
June.
I now have a conflict on the 29th, but the 27th's okay. So,
All right, are we still covered? Was that on your list of people
I
already?
had Paul for neither of them.
Okay,
initially.
29th works better for me.
all right.
I'm
Well, it
coming-
sounds like we'll have a quorum for both, either one.
So
I
Tom,
would
I have
hate
you
to, I'd hate
not
to kick it
available?
out into summer. We're gonna get more problems in summer.
I have Tom not available for either. Is that still correct?
I can make the 29th work. I can make the 29th work if it's not the 29th and we're in June, I can't make any of it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm out the month of June, basically.
So then,
All right, so,
And that would still be at this time, like a 4
correct.
o'clock. I can do that.
all right, so we don't need to specify those particular cases other than the fact that they're gonna, do we need to call them, all 4 of them out? We're just gonna be, we're telling you to schedule them, right? We're gonna schedule our hearing.
So,
I can just read the list.
yes, if you would.
Okay, so we're looking for, well, I'll make the motion, how about that? I'll make a motion that we schedule our next additional a Board of Review date for May 29th in the council chambers here at 500 Genesee Street at 4 PM. For properties, take me a second here. DELC 0786007, that's 1614 West Shore Drive. DELC 0798101, 103, 104, 105, and 106. That's for 524 North Genesee Street, JP Morgan Chase Bank. And for property DELC 07339980006 for 3201 Village Square Drive, again, JP Morgan Bank. And also for DELC 0803-006 for 20 Crossroads Court. I have a second for that?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay. So our next date will be May 29th at 4 PM.
Okay, and then we just need a recess for,
And
22
then
minutes.
we will be in recess starting at 5:38.
so I'm gonna
Okay, Board of Review is now out of recess. Time now is 6 PM on May 12th, 2025. In the last 22 minutes of our 2-hour opening session, we did not receive any additional objections, so none will be heard. And with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn to May 29th at 4 PM.
I motion to adjourn to May 29th at 4 PM.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Oh, meeting's now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.